5 Ghostly Encounters Across Arizona. Arizona is known for its scenic deserts, majestic mountains, and spectacular canyons. But the Grand Canyon State can also be a terrifying place. High temperatures, unforgiving weather, sinister wildlife. There are countless reasons to be frightened, but that's not all. Considering its chaotic history, the state also has its fair share of real-life ghost hauntings that will definitely make you nibble your nails in fear. Here are 5 ghostly encounters from across Arizona. Number 5. Jerome Hotel. We often think of hospitals as institutions of healing and well-being, but for the many lives saved, there are also an equal number of souls that have perished within its walls. So, it's no wonder hospitals, asylums, and sanatoriums are very creepy. The Jerome Grand is a famous hotel where locals and tourists check in whenever they're in Jerome, Arizona. But long before it became a place of hospitality and accommodation, the establishment had once been a home of treatment and rehabilitation. The building was originally built around 1926 under its former name, the United Verde Hospital. The place was closed in 1950 when the once bustling mining operations in the city began to shut down. During that time, it was left abandoned, and members of the local community swore to have witnessed some of the most terrible ghost hauntings inside of that building. This then drew people in from other places, making it a popular destination for ghost hunters. In 1996, after it was purchased by a private entity, the United Verde Hospital became Jerome Grand Hotel. Regardless of the revamp and the name change, though, the hauntings remained. Guests reported hearing strange sounds like coughing and labored breathing from empty rooms. Others were so terrified that they had to check out when the lights inside their rooms went on and off uncontrollably. Some also experienced their room television sets just turning themselves on. There were also reports from guests who could smell strong scents of flowers, cigar smoke, and whiskey, even though the place was devoid of these items. Although yet to be verified, townspeople and even the hotel staff said these anomalies are caused by ghosts of patients who died in the United Verde Hospital. Apparently, their souls chose to linger within, wreaking havoc on unsuspecting guests who just wanted to lay down their heads for a little bit of rest. Number 4. Horseshoe Cafe. Out of all the unlikely places haunted by ghosts and paranormal entities, this cozy little shop in Benson, Arizona definitely takes the cake. The Horseshoe Cafe is hailed as one of the top restaurants in the city. It's hard to miss this diner, especially at night, because one can clearly see the horse head inside a horseshoe neon sign on the side of the building. Built and opened in 1938, the cafe has since become a landmark to locals and visitors alike. But beyond the delightful services it offers, the Horseshoe Cafe also gives a rather strange reason why it's a must-see establishment in the area. Apparently, travelers from all over come to experience for themselves the infamous tales of ghost hauntings. One of the remarkable stories pertains to a ghostly old woman who passers-by claim to have seen staring down ominously into the street from a room in the upper floor of the building. Several others also say that they could hear a dog barking from the same spot, although no dog could be found. But the strangeness doesn't end there. Loyal patrons often talk about an elderly woman who dresses all in black. She can sometimes be seen by staff and diners loitering on the lower floor, the stairs, and the basement of the restaurant. Its bar, the Palomino Room, also has some creepy tales to share. Avid goers often talk of various ghastly phenomena, such as unexplained shadows, footsteps, and ghostly laughter. There's also an entity which is considered mischievous due to its love for breaking glasses and plates. Aside from the delightful food, drinks, and service, customers remember their time at the Horseshoe Cafe for some other reasons, ones that might come from another realm entirely. Number 3. Phelps Dodge Hospital. People from all around the country who were in search of their fortune once flocked to the little town of Ajo, which is in southern Arizona. Suddenly, all life and activity ceased though, and the place was abandoned for one reason or another. And, like in most abandoned places, some disturbing and downright creepy things were left behind. Around the early 1920s, Phelps Dodge, America's largest copper mining company, built the old Phelps Dodge Hospital in Ajo, which is in Pima County. The purpose was to cater to the ever-growing medical needs of its miners and their respective families. As time went on, the hospital noticed that the number of child patients exceeded that of minor patients. Apparently, many of the young kids fell ill easily due to the fact that vaccines were not readily available at that time. The child mortality rate was staggeringly high, and there was nothing that the hospital could do to alleviate the situation. Ajo miners quickly realized the severity of their living condition, and this prompted them to pack up and leave behind the tragedy and sadness that surrounded the town. Soon enough, Ajo became a place of ruin and desolation. It was completely forgotten, and when people came to visit, it was for one weird reason: to experience firsthand the town's ghost hauntings. With the countless deaths and suffering that happened within its walls, it's no surprise that the old Phelps Dodge Hospital would become a hotspot for paranormal activity. Countless investigators have reported encountering some of the most intense hauntings there. Ghost hunters often talk about their experience of hearing babies crying for their mothers. Others also heard adult men, probably the dead miners, screaming as if they were going through excruciating pain. But if you think these accounts are chilling, the next one will definitely give you goosebumps. Despite being abandoned, the old Phelps Dodge Hospital still has a designated caretaker who looks after the worn-out building. This man has had many weird encounters with the other residents in the place. While he may consider the strange noises and screams as nothing but natural occurrences, this one incident really scarred him for life. One time, he got startled awake in the middle of the night when he felt a person's hand slowly tightening its grip around his throat. He could feel himself gasping and running out of breath. When he woke up, the hands that seemed to choke him were gone. That dreadful incident didn't happen again, but surely was enough to get him on his toes. He now recognizes the presence of invisible forces residing in the hospital, and they are the ones who could actually inflict harm if they want to. Number 2, 22nd Street Antique Mall. When we think of haunted places, our minds probably refer to those areas where there's no one or only a few people around. But not this popular shop off of 22nd Street in Tucson, Arizona. The so-called Haunted Antique Mall is a retail avenue that regularly sees a lot of foot traffic. Although there's a lot of people there, it doesn't seem to stop other beings from making their presence known. Originally built as a furniture store complex, the mall is comprised of a main store and a 2-story adjacent annex. In the second floor of that annex, there's a booth that houses a vintage typewriter that, although it's still functional, has not been used in a long time. Regardless, a number of customers and employees have reported hearing the typewriter being used. When they checked in on it, no one was there, and this occurred for a period of months, and at some point in time it became an unexpected attraction at the mall. The other booth on the second floor displays furniture like chairs, desks, tables, and beds, which employees arrange before going home. But much to their bewilderment, they would sometimes find them rearranged and scattered all over the place the following morning. And while these incidents may seem trivial to some, there's this report that really shook the ones who heard it. It was the holiday season, a mall employee recalled. The entire establishment was so busy and everyone was minding their own business when suddenly, the store clerk noticed that everything seemed to speed up like in a time warp. Meanwhile, he and a coworker saw themselves getting frozen in their positions. They felt as if hours had passed through them in just a matter of seconds. Both couldn't explain how it happened, but they eventually got out of the trance and once again found themselves in the normal place. Another mall employee also went through a weird experience that even up until now she could never forget. It was just another day at the jewelry booth. She was bending over the glass display encasement, arranging the precious goods, when suddenly she felt something brushing past her back. It was as if someone caressed her, and when she looked up to check, she was shocked to find what appeared to be a transparent figure of a young man going past her. She was then further horrified when she noticed that the ethereal figure seemed to give a mischievous look before vanishing into thin air. No one knows if these hauntings continue to occur, but for sure, they still do. Would you be brave enough to do your shopping at this infamous haunted mall? Number 1. Ghost of Sunkist Factory. The belief in the supernatural varies from person to person. Some may scoff at the thought of ghosts roaming around, yet there are others who would swear on the graves of their loved ones that they indeed have encountered these phantoms. Regardless, there's really no reason for a skeptic to mock what these believers have experienced. Located in Mesa is a famous landmark that has now been known as one of the most haunted places to visit in Maricopa County. Called the Sunkist Factory, this establishment was once a bustling citrus packaging plant that provided employment to several of the local townsfolk for many years. In 2010, it was decided that the plant would be closed. Some parts of this expansive historic building have since become a popular event venue, but the factory itself remained abandoned and desolate. It didn't take long before the scary tales that happened inside the building came to the surface. Based on the information given, it seems like the series of incidents were so spooky that it could have been a reason for the factory's closure. It all began with a foreman who received numerous reports from his workers about a shadowy figure lurking down in the basement. Instead of looking into the matter, though, the man chose to ignore them, saying it was nothing to be worried about. In truth, he didn't really believe it and found the reports to be quite silly. The weird incidents, though, continued to occur. Some workers talked about the unusual rhythmic sound they heard. It was like a ball bouncing on the floor, and they would later notice a small red ball bouncing and rolling across the floor, only to disappear into a dark corner. They tried to look for it, but much to their confusion, couldn't find it. Countless more paranormal reports continued to reach the desk of the foreman, and every time he would choose to disregard them. Until such time when the employees decided to huddle together and threaten the management that they would stop their work until something was done about the haunting issue. The foreman couldn't do anything but finally take heed of their demands. A paranormal investigator was then hired. One of the first things looked into was the lurking, shadowy figure. The expert explained that this could be linked to the tragic story of a woman who died by laying her head down along the train tracks found just outside the factory building. There are also rumors saying that this could be the ghost of a man who accidentally died in a citrus shoot. The paranormal investigator himself wasn't spared from the bizarreness. In one of his visits, he asked about the mysterious ball, and at that very moment, while he was still talking to the manager, he saw in the corner of his eye the old beaten-up rubber ball, which had some weird writing on its surface. And like how it always happens, the ball bounced, rolled, and disappeared into the unknown. Its apparition didn't exactly surprise him, but seeing the infamous red ball in the sun-kissed factory did send shivers down his spine. For a paranormal expert to react that way tells you exactly how spooky the place is. Still, there might be others who would take this as a chance to experience the ghostly unknown. So there were 5 ghostly encounters across Arizona. Sure, there are ways to beat the 100+ degree desert heat and fight your way out of the unforgiving wilderness of Arizona. But are you brave enough to experience these infamous Arizona ghost hauntings yourself? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed this video. Check out all our other ghostly tales in the videos on the right. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you soon.